All right. Let's get this out of the way first. The thoughts, views, and opinions expressed on Tailboard Talks Firefighter podcast are solely those of the speakers, guests, and host, and do not in any way represent the thoughts or views or opinions of any other employer, partnership, or sponsor. The material and information in this podcast is for general information purposes only. It should be used at the listener's discretion. Welcome back to your table, dude.
Thanks.
Is it on? Welcome back to your table. This is definitely weird recording this late in the day.
I guess we're a little later than usual,
Time for lunch after I leave here.
Actually, we're on the clock because Taylor will be home and kick us out of here pretty soon.
Let's get this over with. Is there anything more Firefighter than me not being able to watch a show because I didn't work this week?
It's
so I'm a week behind.
I was lame enough to even look to see if there were like free trials that you could get. But
I wish you could just, like I said, I wish you could just rent this series. Like
I think
just rent
you
the
can.
next 6 shows.
I think you can pay as you go on stuff.
Okay.
But that's the most legwork I'm doing. Yeah. It's like I have it already.
It's like $25 an episode.
Yeah.
I was thinking on the way over here, I'm like, that is a very specific thing to firefighters, and Chip is like, well, I couldn't watch my show this week because I didn't go to.
I wouldn't pay as you go for episode 3. I would wait till episode 4, or just watch it tomorrow.
I did watch the recap. It looked like there was a lot of really subtle, deep stuff in episode 3.
There's some building going on.
Yeah, it was still a 20-minute long video on YouTube of like his left shoe was untied, which means that, he's half out of the underworld or some stuff. So that's good. We can keep this week's spoilers relatively short. Mm-hmm. And I think it's going to be a kind of a quick episode in general. There's just the 2 things to really run through.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to bring up the topic that got submitted on Instagram because now I'm reading into things, being a True Detective season, and it said like more senior firefighters refusing to take shifts on the ambulance. Mm-hmm. And it had senior in quotes of like, not really, like by a day or 2, and now you're pulling kind of BS on it.
That's, that, and I wanted to clarify that with you because that's kind of how I took it after I read it the second time.
Yeah.
So, obviously I'm a terrible person to ask for it.
I think you're the perfect person.
We all did our time on the ambulance, but but as a senior person who hasn't been on an ambulance in 15 years, probably not the best to say like, this is the way it goes, but
tough. I kind of think you are though, because you took I don't want to say righteous. You took the correct, afforded path off the ambulance, right?
Yeah.
Which was like, don't be afraid to back up what you've been saying for the past 10 years, basically. Do you want to talk about that at all?
The short story is that we went to paramedic school. The city hit a budget.
Not we.
Well, my group went to paramedic school. The city hit a budget crunch. We graduated paramedic school, and about 3 months after that, the city asked for people to de-stipend as paramedics, as paid paramedics for the city. And so everyone at the time was like, I'm doing it. And 4 of us did. And me having 3 months on the ambulance was obviously in the spotlight, but they didn't stipulate anything. So it was, I did everything according to the rules. And of course, so 4 of us do. And literally the next day, all the people who were like, I'm doing it, were MFing me afterwards. And and it's like, well, you guys could have done it too. And you guys were all senior to me. You had a better shot at me at not doing it. And so that was just the way it went.
Did you have some people that you were surprised were on your side with that too? Because I remember hearing some people who we thought would have been like, you should really suffer through it because I could have. And basically they were like, they gave him the opportunity and you guys should have taken care of it.
Yeah, so the captain I was working for at the time was like a bleed, fire department, blood, like all over the place, like rah, everything. And it took me probably 3 shifts of like walking over to his office and then turning around and walking away because I couldn't get up the guts to go tell him I was going to do it. And then I walked in and I'm like, hey, Cap, here's the plan. And he's like, all right. And I'm like, okay. Yeah. And then the union president, whatever. Yeah, he agreed too. So I think that his was more to just, play games with the city.
Yeah. Who knows what his motive was to support anything.
But he agreed with it too. So So I had my captain, who's a staff officer, and the union president, both saying that, yeah, do it. And really nobody said anything. The only actually, even going into my meeting with the chief, he's like, well, this will never impact you in the future. I'm like, okay, but in terms of like promotion or stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, but so yeah, those were my captain for sure, just because of how rah-rah the fire department was. I didn't think he would allow me to do it or be so easy about it.
So then that makes your joke of like, we all did our time on the ambulance. Now it's funny.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a funny thing for us.
Yep.
Not everybody knows that story.
Yeah.
That like,
No.
your time on the ambulance was during paramedic school.
Yep.
And then you were legally
And that was it.
not to.
Yeah. So I think I was a stipend paramedic from, would have been like the end of June to the middle of October, I think.
Yeah.
I'll have to double check because one of the guys has an alert set in his phone. So every year he texts me on that and wishes me happy anniversary. So
Happy retirement.
Yep.
But I do think you're the perfect person to bring on this because you've expressed your willingness or your, not desire, I don't want to overplay it, but during like COVID and during some other times you'd be like, I actually do wish I could take one for the team right now for some of these guys and like jump in a little bit, you know? And I don't know if this is a symptom of that of the past like 3-4 years of just the craziness that went on, but there are a bunch of guys that are below me who just throw a fit when it's time to just PIC or drive the ambulance, you know? And I think as a senior member and a driver in the department, you do have a good perspective on that, you know?
Yeah. And, ours is a little tougher because now we've got picks that are, a benefit that we've earned with station bidding. And so we're kind of set up that if you're a junior, you're going to do a year of probation on the engine. You might catch a little more time after that on the engine. And then you're probably going to do 4 or 5 years, mostly straight on the ambulance. Yeah. And then you're going to have an opportunity to pick 4th position on an engine, which is going to let you do probably half of your time on an ambulance and half on an engine.
Which is a massive improvement.
It's a massive improvement because we had guys before, like my contemporaries, that drove the same ambulance for like 9 years straight. And there was no hope for them getting off of that,
That's what I did. I didn't get off the ambulance until I started doing the acting program.
Yeah.
And that's a large reason why I got in the acting program. I was like, well, it was still the fastest way off an ambulance. That's what it was advertised
as. I would say
as.
still now, probably the guaranteed fastest way off of the ambulance is to get promoted and get to an engine. Once you get promoted at our department, you get more engine time. Yeah. And then obviously you make it to an engine at one point in time.
I think it's more of a tie now because I think like 8 to 10 years is about when.
Probably about.
Yeah. Yeah. When it used to be like 14 to 16.
Yep.
And it was just like one after the other. Like I decided, okay, I'm going to try to get off the ambulance. I'm going to go for promotion. And then as I was going through my acting time, I was committed to it then, and I was taking the test the second time, and they're like, okay, now we have shift picks. And then I saw all the 7 other guys I got hired with that were still, the 5 other ones that were still back end. Yeah. They were instantly off the ambulance at like 7-8 years. And I was like, I just married myself to this thing for another 4 to 6 years. Yeah. Like, what did I do? Yeah. So yeah, now I think 8 to 10 is the scope for getting off it through attrition. And then like 10-ish is like promotion, more or less. But yeah, if you want to get off the ambulance, you want for promotion at 10 years to get off it in 14, hopefully. Yeah. And now I'm at 16. I'm coming up on 16. I'm hopefully the next 6 months going to be off it. Yeah. But
yeah, I mean, based off of that comment on Instagram, though, I think, my strategy probably would be to just talk to that person face to, because if you're expecting them to give up a suppression day to you, you're going to be pissed off. Every time. So I would talk to that person and be like, hey, can we set up some sort of rotation? It doesn't have to be equal, but like, can I get an engine day a month or something like that? Or just something like that. Yeah. And make that person tell you no. And then at least you know where you stand. Yeah. And then you can address it further up if you'd like to. And then you can go to an officer and be like, listen, I need a periodic break. Is there a way that we can figure that out? And the more you think that someone's going to give it to you, the less you're going to get it. Like nobody's looking out for the person on the ambulance to be like, we need to get this guy a day off, and certainly a back end guy is not looking to be like, oh, I'll give up my day,
Please. Yeah.
So that would be my advice is just have a conversation with the person first and hopefully they're in agreement with you. And if not, then you can address it with somebody a little more formally.
Yeah. Do you think you would have the guts to say no if that conversation came to you? I don't think I would, because you're setting yourself up for a fall also.
Right.
I'm going to need a trade eventually.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to need help eventually.
Right.
And if someone told me no, like I know there's a couple of guys who have been asked, like, hey, can we set this up, whatever?
Right.
And their answer is no. When I'm forced to do it once a month as a paramedic in charge, that's my donation to the ambulance.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it as a favor besides that.
Right.
And I was like, you do know you have to rely on these people for stuff eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happens is now that guy's not getting trades.
Right.
He's not getting the benefit that other people get, which right, wrong, or indifferent or unfair. That's the way it goes, because he's not willing to take one on the chin for them, so they're not going to take one for him. I don't know if I'd be able to sit there and be like, no, I'm not doing that. Like,
no, and I mean, it depends on the dynamic of the department too, because if the person who's requesting it is a well-liked person, possibly with some more senior people, and then they go and they're like, hey, so-and-so said no to doing a rotation with me. Now you have possibly senior guys coming down on that backup person and be like, come on, so it's like, I think I would have a real hard time saying no in that sense,
Dude.
Unless I truly thought it was unfair and the guy was just being a wino. But
do you think, so how would you approach, let's just say you were a paramedic, like in an alternate universe.
Mm-hmm.
I would have a hard time knowing how to approach a situation, be like, I need a break off the ambulance, because a break implies a break. There's a lot of people that will scoff at that. Be like, you don't need a break. You're just being soft or something like that. How have you seen people approach that in the past using like the specific terminology or words they did? Not to say I need a break because I'm tired, but like, do you have to broach into like hey, my mental health is wrecked, or can you be like, hey, it'd just be really nice to do something different for a day? Like, what have you seen on that front? Because that's a tough one to bring up. You don't want to come on too strong and be like, I need a break.
Yeah. And
then you work and nothing bad happens. You're like, I still need a break.
Unfortunately, in our world, that's still probably considered a little weak, even though we're doing a better job of acknowledging mental health stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing if you have 3 or 4 years on and you come on, you're like, I need a break. There's a lot of people like, you don't need a break. You don't know what it's like, you know? I don't know if you come in with a solution and look at like when your next Kelly day or vacation day is and see if you can like butt it up there. And then that's like a good break for you, as you get 2 shifts straight off of the ambulance, But yeah, I would probably not come in right away hot with, I need a break off of the ambulance.
Yeah.
Like,
it's also hard because I definitely asked for more engine time before I got promoted, knowing there was going to be like a 50-50 split.
Yeah.
Of like, hey, I need some reps on fire alarms and like gas leaks and silly stuff like that. Like, I don't need to be put on a training plan, but I need to become more familiar with this thing.
Well, that's the problem too, is if you come in saying I'm weak over here, you don't want to like open up a training plan for yourself either, So I think I'd be more comfortable approaching it from a training side of like, hey, it's been 4 months since I've been on an engine. Yeah. Can I get on one just to throw a few ladders and run some calls? And they might say like, well, why can't you throw ladders when you're on the ambulance? Right. Like, well, maybe on some departments. I guess that's the step you go to if you've already had the discussion with the person and they say no. And then you need to justify your reasoning a little bit more.
Yeah.
Department needs, Yeah. I wouldn't have that as like a peer-to-peer, be like, well, don't feel comfortable throwing ladders, because then I'd for sure be like, well, let's go throw them together now,
Yeah. Also, pro tip, I know you and I share this opinion. If you insist that you need a break, don't take overtime on the ambulance.
Definitely don't.
Like, that's not. Yeah. Your argument goes right out the window.
Right out the window.
And then you become the figurehead for the person who should not be doing something.
Yes. Yeah.
And we've seen that before too. I need a break. I'm done with the ambulance. I can't stand this thing anymore. Like, why are you taking your gear? Well, I got overtime on ambulance
for time
like,
and a half.
Like all of a sudden, the magical resilience fairy shows up and sprinkles a few dollars on you, and you're good, right? So yeah, don't do that. But yeah, I guess approach it with a person, but sometimes, like, there was a retired cop that I still follow on Instagram because he does a lot of jiu-jitsu stuff and leadership stuff, and this came up too of like rookies in the police department complaining that they have the night shift or overnight or something like that. And people were asking him, like, how do I approach this and how do I do this? And he's like, sometimes it sucks to suck, pal. That's part of the deal. And, so, you got 30 years here. Yeah, you might eat 10 of them on an ambulance you don't want to be on.
And that's the reality is like our our department at least is set up that you benefit from the system at a certain point, you know? And so it's like, at some point it's your time. And, you know, I don't know.
Sometimes it sucks to suck.
It's us, you know, I don't want to get into the old guy stuff of being like, you know, we all had it that way at some point in time, but you know, it did suck to suck in the beginning.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a difference though between acknowledging that of like, yeah, sometimes you just got to do this and it's a job that's not always fun. There's a difference between that and saying, well, I suffer through it, so now you have to suffer through it.
Yeah.
Like, first of all, you don't have to suffer through it. You have to do it. It doesn't have to be the worst thing in the world every time. Right. A lot of that comes from your crew and your own personal outlook on it. Even on the busiest ambulances I've been on, I can think back of a lot more fun times in the station, separate from the dozens of calls I had to run, you know, throughout the shift or the time I was there. So, yeah, I mean,
I will say too, like, you do know what you're getting into coming into this industry. There shouldn't be like too many surprises as to what the job is now at this point, you know,
especially not after the first year.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you've seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think most people know at this point in time, if you don't want to be on an ambulance, you shouldn't test for a department that runs their own EMS. You know?
Right.
So like, cause it's just the way it is.
So yeah, that's about as good as answer we can give to that one.
Yep.
Sometimes it sucks to suck, and sometimes it sucks that they suck. That's how that goes. Let's do this video real quick, dude. Yeah. That workout video. Did you make it all the way through?
Mm-hmm.
So a little bit of background. I put a video up. I sent a video to Curt and another one of our friends. A bunch of my friends separately, and it was a dad forcing his kids to work out. Yeah, like forcing them to. Mm-hmm. They were not enthused about it. They were not involved in it. The mom got in on it. Was like being weird about stuff.
Chirping. Yeah.
It was just a weird video, dude. And but the comments were split of like, yeah, Dad, you're kicking ass, and like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And like, what is this doing for them? And I'll post it again on, maybe I'll share it to the page. Maybe I'll even figure out how to put it in the video here. Probably not, but super awkward.
Yeah.
It felt like the video was for him, not for the kids.
Correct.
Did you get that feeling?
Yeah, I spent too much time on this. But
go ahead then.
Yeah, so
you have 13 minutes.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, so here's the thing is like, he is not making that video to show you how to train kids.
Right.
If you dig deeper as to what his business is to be basically a life coach and a training coach to people who want to be alpha males. Oh. And so...
good for you for looking at it.
Yeah,
because I couldn't.
That's his service. So basically, every day you play a game, you get your goal is to score 3 points. You get a half a point if you do your workout. You get a half a point if you finish your nutrition. You get 1 point if you do a journal, and you get 1 point for your spiritual connection that day.
You really went in on this guy.
I did because I wanted to learn.
Keep talking.
So that video is geared towards alpha dads. And this is how I treat my kids, because that's how, you know, if you read a lot of the comments, it was like, kids need this. This is how it was when we were kids. So he's connecting to his base of clientele, who he's selling programs to. He's not saying this is how to train kids.
Right.
Because there's no love for those kids for what they're doing in that there. And all he's doing at that point is he's showing his kids how to stop at a predetermined number and not do anything more.
Yeah.
And that's what that whole video was like. Get to 10, and it's like, you know, that kid was not doing 11. It was hard to get him to do 1, and there was zero chance he was developing the passion to do the 11th rep.
Yeah.
But that was definitely made for his people. And then if you dig through the wormhole, you know, it's like you got the alpha males who do his program. Well, sure enough, if you click on the wifey, she's got her same thing for females. Oh. And so it's all...
Yeah.
It's just Greg Glassman packaged differently, you know. It's like,
dude, it was just so gross.
I went too far, because then it's like, if you look at any pod, so that guy used to be a firefighter. Do you know that?
No.
Okay, so he was a firefighter, paramedic.
I didn't even know I was tying it in that way.
If you Google his name, basically, it's I went from being a broke firefighter to a multimillionaire.
Oh, thank God.
Well, the good thing is California, they're very transparent with their salaries. That person was not broke. As of 2021, he was making $200,000 a year from the fire department. So, telling you, man, this is 5 minutes. I felt like Goob going.
True Detectives are really rubbing off.
Yep. But also playing into his fan base of you can be nothing and turn into something. Here it is, broke firefighter to alpha dad.
Yeah.
So that was my research into it.
I just got grossed out by the video.
The video was awful.
It was just a gross video.
Yeah, everything about
the amount of times he looked at the camera.
Yep.
The amount of times that you could tell he was sticking it to these kids, and they were just completely not receptive.
Yeah.
And at one point, it was awkwardly put in where he almost had to. It looked like he had to remind himself, like, "Oh shit, I forgot I gotta be like a hard ass right now."
Mm-hmm.
Where he was like, "Oh, you didn't count to 12. That means you gotta start over again."
Yeah.
And it's also, I don't know if it's just because of this or trying to create stuff that I see, like why do you put the bodies in the middle of the rink kind of thing and the lights facing on them?
Yeah.
Who was recording it? So either they had someone else, so the mom wasn't recording it, she was in on it.
Yeah.
Unless they have another kid that wasn't working out.
I think that's the case. They have 5 kids.
But here's the thing: is like you have let's give him not the benefit of the doubt and say it wasn't. He hired someone to record this morning routine, right? Mm-hmm. The kids obviously don't do that. Want to do that every day.
Correct.
Now you're going to bring an outside person and record them not being good at it or want to do it with your dad berating you, and then your mom starts tripping you in it. Mm-hmm. What are we doing?
Yeah, and if you remove that and pick away at it more, everyone's on social media now. If you think that the seniors in that kid's high school, where that kid's trying to try out for something, don't get a hold of something like that and use it against them, like you're totally wrong. If they see that on the internet, they're definitely coming after that kid,
And the squats look terrible.
Which
the dads,
they were
his air squats were.
They were rough,
kyphotic and gross.
Mm-hmm.
That dude, your dive on that was incredible.
When I was about 10 minutes of work, and I had to cut it off because I'm like, all right, I'm done.
It doesn't take much, right?
No, it doesn't.
Salary record. Dude. So what I also don't have much experience in this area either, but I know that's not the way I want to do it.
Yeah.
What I've been trying to do with Nathan is simply create the opportunity to work out with me. Mm-hmm. And it literally lasts 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Where I'll be on the bike or I'll be doing a workout with like a kettlebell, and he'll start doing his swings on his rings downstairs or like climbing the wall, and then he'll want to do something. I'll be like, buddy, I'm doing this right now. Like I'm right in the middle of it. Why don't you come work out with me? Yeah. He'll get annoyed and then walk away. I'll be like, well, that was a pretty good session for today. Yeah. Like that's, and yes, we bribe him and say like afterwards when I have my protein shake, they have their own muscle shake mix, which is like Ovaltine or Nesquik or something like that.
Yeah.
And he'll be like, I want one. And so he'll be like, I want a muscle shake. Be like, well, did you work out? And then, okay, if you do 10 squats and 5 push-ups and 2 laps around the house, we'll give you a muscle shake. Mm-hmm. I don't see that as a bad thing. Like incentivize that a little bit, right?
No, definitely not.
But yeah, to think about standing Nathan in the corner and filming him and be like, 5 more squats. Yeah, you're an athlete. Quit pretending to be soft.
Yeah.
But also not having the natural ability to be a coach like that, like forcing someone else's coaching style.
Yeah.
I will say, this is why it just frustrated me also. If you wrote down everything he said and put it in a script and had someone apply the appropriate emotion to it, it probably works.
Probably.
Like you said, like, hey, I need some emotion. I need some positive energy. But he was saying that in a scolding way. Like, yeah. I need positive energy.
Right.
Like what?
But like also gross. Like, yeah. And it's like, you do that in front of an audience, those are conversations you have one-on-one with your kid, so that they can look you in the eye and understand what's going on and you can explain versus just yelling at them on camera while whoever's filming you and your mom's chirping in. God, that was the worst.
And then I did see someone in the comments said like, you could see the love and the hug you gave him in the end. That's what saved this video for me, where he basically grabbed him and choked him until the kid started laughing to get out of it. Like, let me go. Yeah. He's like, I love these kids.
Yeah.
Get out
of here. Doubting that. What we're contending is the love of your kid for what he's doing.
Oh, dude. So overall gross. I'll have to find a way I'll post in my stories a few more times. I didn't check the poll on that before coming in here, but it was like 50-50.
Really?
You go, Dad, and do more harm than good.
Yeah.
I stand fast that he was doing more harm than good. Those kids are not going to grow up and be like, I remember those good days when
I think for nothing else. So we have the view behind the curtain of kids coming in away from their parents and us being able to put the pieces together that they no longer enjoy what their parents are making them do.
Yeah.
And that's what this is to me, is that this kid from this experience is not looking to further himself. He's looking to stop at a predetermined thing.
Yeah.
And that's going to carry over to everything else. And it's not all of a sudden going to switch for him and be like, I love this.
Yeah.
Because my dad makes me do all this. You know?
Yeah. I didn't see the installation of any beneficial lessons in that.
Correct. Yeah.
I was like, well, this kid's never going to work out again. The next time his dad says, come out to the garage, we're working out, he's going to be like, is there a camera out there?
Mm-hmm.
Am I going to get yelled at today and post on the internet so you can make more money?
Yeah. And then his mom going to yell at me.
Yeah. And then like, is it really worth the dirt bike you're going to buy me? Because I'm sure he's flooding him with gifts on the back end since he's a millionaire now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's probably I'm drawing a lot of conclusions about how he buys this kid's love, treats him like a dick, and then makes up on the back end. Probably with ice cream. He's probably like the guy in dodgeball who like cries over pizza and like rubs it all over him or whatever. I don't know, man. Maybe it's getting too deep. Okay. Well, I'm going to have to subscribe to his page now to get more content.
I'm definitely blocking him after this. So enough.
I'm not going to tag him. He's not the kind of person that you can have a conversation with. I'm sure of it. First of all, didn't even know, but he's a fireman. You can't have a conversation with that.
For sure.
And now he's a millionaire, so forget about it.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing worse than a broke firefighter is one with money.
Mm-hmm.
But on the flip side, he probably has Max, and he can watch True Detective on time.
Probably.
Unlike broke firemen. I choose to be broke. Anything else, dude?
I don't think so.
All right. That's a good deep dive. That was way more than I expected, man. That dive.
Came with some research today.
Was perfect. That might be the most work you put into one of these episodes.
Probably.
All right. I'll keep sending you stuff that pisses you off and get you all riled up. All right. Check out Rescue One CBD for 0.000% THC CBD and Fourth Frontier heart rate monitoring strap. The only one with lead 2 EKG capabilities. Got through that time. Keep being more capable and durable on the job and away from it, and be a 4-shift firefighter.